Good afternoon, Virgo. Please stop what you are doing. Seriously, stop. Because I need you fully here right now. Not half here, not one eye on something else. Fully here. Because what I am about to speak into is something you have been carrying for a long time. Something that touches almost every area of your life. Something that when it shifts everything. And something is shifting right now. Let me ask you something before anything else. When was the last time you felt truly stable? Not performing stability, not managing things well enough that nobody could tell the difference, but actually, genuinely, deeply stable. The kind of stable where you wake up in the morning and the first feeling in your body is not anxiety, not a mental list of everything that needs to be handled, not the low hum of something uncertain sitting just beneath the surface, but peace, actual, unperformed, nobody is watching peace. For a lot of you watching this right now, that question lands somewhere tender because it has been a while, maybe a long while, maybe long enough that you have started to forget what that actually feels like in your body. And I want to acknowledge that before anything else. The exhaustion of instability, financial instability, environmental instability, relational instability, the particular kind of tired that comes from never quite being able to put everything down, from always having to hold something, manage something, figure something out. That exhaustion is real and it is heavy, and you have been carrying it with more strength than anyone around you probably realizes. Now, let me tell you what I am sensing in your energy right now. And I want you to let this actually reach you. Not process it immediately. Not immediately check it against your fears. Just let it land. There is a convergence building around you. Multiple things moving toward the same point simultaneously. The kind of convergence that does not happen from one thing going right, but from several things that have been quietly assembling, finally finding their arrangement. And the areas I am sensing this most strongly are home, resources, and the quality of your daily life. Let me start with home, because home is not just a physical space, and I think you know that. Home is safety. Home is the place where you do not have to perform, where you do not have to manage how you appear, where you can put everything down and just be exactly who you are without an audience. And for some of you, the home situation has been one of the heaviest things you have been carrying. Maybe it is a space that does not feel like yours. Maybe it is a situation that has been uncertain or unstable or temporary for longer than it should have been. Maybe it is a living situation that costs you something every single day, not just financially, but energetically, in terms of your peace, your rest, your ability to actually recover from the demands of your life. And here is what I am sensing right now. A door is opening, not metaphorically, an actual tangible, real world shift in the probability of your living situation changing, moving towards something that feels more like yours, more settled, more like the space you actually deserve to occupy. And I want to be careful about how I say this, because I am not handing you a guarantee. I am not telling you exactly what form this takes or exactly when, but the energetic probability of movement in this area, the directional pull of what is assembling, points toward home, real home, the kind that holds you. Have you been longing for a sense of home lately? Not just a place to sleep, but a space that actually feels safe and settled and yours. Tell me in the comments, because I think for a lot of you watching this, the home situation has been quietly one of the hardest things, even when you do not talk about it that way. Now let me talk about money, because it is in this energy and it deserves to be spoken about honestly, without shame, without the usual spiritual bypassing that makes financial struggle feel like a personal failing. Money is not just numbers. Money is options. Money is the ability to say no to things that do not serve you. Money is rest. Money is not lying awake calculating. Money is the freedom to make choices from preference rather than desperation. And financial pressure, real, sustained, ongoing financial pressure, does something very specific to a person. It narrows the field of vision. It makes everything feel more urgent than it is. It makes decisions harder because every decision carries more weight than it should. It makes it very difficult to think clearly about future when the present is demanding everything you have. And I see that in your energy, that narrowing, that particular quality of someone who has been operating in scarcity mode for long enough that it has started to feel like just the way things are. Like this is simply your relationship with money. Like struggle is just the texture of your financial life. Like abundance is something that happens to other people, people who started differently, who had different advantages, who made different choices. And I want to speak directly to that belief right now. It is not true. The relationship you have had with money up to this point is not a permanent assignment. It is not a fixed feature of who you are. It is not evidence of what you deserve. It is a chapter. And chapters change. Let me slow down for a second because I want to talk about something that sits underneath the financial piece, something that is actually more important than the money itself. Your belief about what is available to you. Because here is something I have noticed in energy like yours. People who have been in financial difficulty for a significant period of time often develop a very specific relationship with opportunity. They stop fully seeing it, not because opportunity is not present, but because the nervous system has been trained to scan for threat, for what could go wrong, for the catch, for the reason this particular thing is not going to work out. And that scanning, that hypervigilance toward disappointment can actually cause someone to talk themselves out of real opportunities, real openings, real moments where something good was genuinely available because it did not feel safe to believe in it. Hold on, because this next part is important. What is building in your energy right now? The probability of financial movement, of resources shifting, of something opening in how money flows through your life. That shift is going to require something from you. Not effort necessarily, not strategy necessarily. Receptivity, the willingness to let something good land without immediately finding the reason it cannot be real. The willingness to say yes to the opening before fear talks you out of it. The willingness to believe, even fractionally, that this one might actually be what it appears to be. Because the biggest financial shifts in people's lives, the ones that actually hold and build and become something lasting, almost never feel safe in the moment they are offered. They almost always require a step that feels slightly bigger than comfortable, a yes that happens before certainty arrives. Think about a moment recently, an opportunity you considered and then talked yourself out of, a door that opened and that you closed before fully looking through it, a possibility you dismissed before really letting yourself assess it. Not every door you closed was wrong to close. Discernment matters. Protection matters. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the door was real, and it was fear that closed it, not wisdom. I'm not sure why, but this feels important to say right now. Stability is not something that happens to you. It is something you begin to allow. There is a version of stability that comes from external circumstances finally arranging themselves in your favor, and that is real, and that is part of what is building. But there is another version, an internal version that actually has to come first. The stability of deciding that you are someone who is allowed to be stable, allowed to be secure, allowed to have more than enough, not someday, not when everything is perfect. Now, in your nervous system, in your belief about yourself, in the quiet way you talk to yourself about what is possible for you. Because external stability tends to follow internal stability, not perfectly, not immediately, but consistently. Let me talk about happiness, because the title speaks about happiness, and I want to honor that word. The kind of happiness that comes from a real home, from financial stability, from knowing your basic needs are met and then some. It is a very specific kind of happiness, different from the happiness of a peak moment, different from the happiness of something exciting happening. It is quieter than that, steadier, more like a exhale than a gasp. The happiness of being able to rest without guilt, of making a decision without it feeling like a gamble, of walking into your home and feeling held by it rather than burdened by it. That kind of happiness is what is building in the probability of your near experience. And I want to say something about the second half of that title. You do not even realize how happy you will be. And I want to sit with that phrase, because it is not just about the scale of happiness. It is about the surprise of it. When you have been in difficulty long enough, when scarcity and instability have been the texture of your experience for a significant period, you genuinely lose your ability to accurately imagine what the other side feels like, not because you cannot dream, but because your nervous system has calibrated to difficulty and cannot fully model the feeling of its absence. So when stability actually arrives, when the home situation shifts, when the financial pressure genuinely lifts, when you wake up one morning and the first thing your body feels is not anxiety, it will be more than you imagined, because you have been imagining it from inside the difficulty, the reality of it. From the other side will exceed anything your current vantage point can fully picture. Have you lost your ability to fully imagine what stability would feel like? Have you been in difficulty long enough that ease feels almost foreign as a concept? Tell me in the comments, because that specific experience of wanting something so much for so long that you can barely remember what wanting from a place of hope feels like, rather than desperation, that deserves to be named and witnessed and taken seriously. Let me talk about love, because it is in this energy too, and it connects to everything else in a way I want to describe. There is a relationship between how we feel about our external circumstances and how available we are to love, to giving it, to receiving it, to being fully present within it. When someone is under sustained financial or environmental pressure, when the basic foundations of their life feel uncertain, it is very hard to be fully open in relationship, very hard to be fully present with another person. When part of your mind is always running the calculations, always managing the worry, always holding the weight of what is uncertain. And so the stabilization of the external, the home, the money, the foundation, does something important for love too. It creates space, real, available, unoccupied, internal space for connection, for presence, for the kind of love that is only possible when you are not constantly braced for something. And what I sense in your energy right now, as these foundations begin to shift, as the probability of stability becomes more real, is that space opening gradually, quietly, but genuinely. The space that has been occupied by worry and calculation and management beginning to become available for something warmer, something softer, something that has been waiting for room. Let me bring this toward its close now, because I want to leave you somewhere real, somewhere that feels like solid ground. Here is what I want you to take from this moment. Something is assembling in your life right now, piece by piece, quietly, in the background of everything you are navigating. A new quality of foundation, a different relationship with stability, a home that holds you, resources that give you options, a life that finally has enough breathing room in it to actually be lived. And the probability of this arriving, of these pieces finding their arrangement, is connected directly to your willingness to receive it, to stop telling yourself it is not for people like you, to stop dismissing the openings before you have fully looked through them, to stop calibrating your expectations to the difficulty you have been in rather than the possibilities that are actually building. You have survived real difficulty, real sustained pressure, the kind that changes a person, that builds a kind of depth and resilience and groundedness that only comes from having been tested. And that version of you, the one who survived all of that, who kept showing up, who kept believing even when the belief was small and flickering, that version of you is about to experience something that will feel almost impossible to hold. Not because it is too much, but because it is so different from what you have been living. The relief of it, the exhale of it, the quiet, ordinary, completely extraordinary feeling of things actually being okay. Let yourself receive that without guilt, without waiting for it to be taken away, without immediately bracing for what comes next. Just receive it. If this reading landed somewhere real in you today, if something in here touched what you have been carrying, please leave a comment below. Tell me what stability means to you. Tell me what a real home would feel like. Tell me what you would do first if financial pressure genuinely lifted, because your dreams matter, not as wishful thinking, as direction, as the map of where you are headed. And where you are headed right now is somewhere that is going to surprise you with how good it actually feels. Stay open, stay grounded, and let the foundation finally be built. Built from scratch, carried in silence, about to land somewhere solid. No shortcuts got you here, and no shortcuts will take it away. This one is yours to keep.